Testing 1, 2, 3. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know. You guys there? Am I there? Is everything good? All right. Thank you, AU. Let me get rid of this feedback here. Thank you guys for being so patient. I apologize. I did not plan this. I was recording my trope video that I'm doing right now, and I stopped to do a quick thank you for everybody that's helped me. And I did my usual into the camera, hey guys, I'm Justin Thomas, and thank you so much. And I appreciate it so much, and kept rambling. And after about 6 cuts of me barely getting through thank you, I said I should probably just do it live and see what happens. And I'll probably get my video out sooner rather than release something at 3 o'clock in the morning after 18 times of trying to say thank you. But needless to say, thank you guys. Thank you everybody that's gotten me to the 1K subs, and that's pretty much everybody in this chat. You guys have been so supportive and helpful since the very, very beginning, when the channel was in utter disarray and I had no clue what I really wanted to do with it. It was a podcast that was on YouTube, and then it was like a website / podcast that was on YouTube. And I feel like recently I've found my footing, and I couldn't have done that without all the help from everybody. I mean, I remember the first live stream I did with AU, who's in the I think that was my first live stream other than like the trivia stuff. Yeah, with AU, and that gave me a lot of confidence and stuff. So, like a big thanks to the people that especially, like right away gave me a platform to go on and, just get it out of my system and get my feet wet. That helps so much. I've never done a live stream by myself, which I'm doing right now, and I'm probably going to crash and burn, but I wanted to try to get something out for you guys and just have a general discussion if you guys wanted to have one about what's going on with Westworld, Game of Thrones, all that type of stuff. But yeah, let me get some thank yous out. Let me see. I'm going through the chat right here when I have you guys. And yeah, everything's up to you guys. If you guys want to talk about any discussions or anything, or if there's anybody in there that wants to jump in on this, you guys are more than welcome. Just say it in the chat and we will get you on screen here. But essentially, I want to say thank you to like I already thank people like AU and all that who have been great and continue to be great. Even the trivia people. I'm not talking about the new trivia people, even the old trivia people. That again was an opportunity for me to get my feet wet and stuff like that. And thank you to obviously the Citadel trivia, you guys who continue to support and are great and make painstakingly detailed content every week, and you do it for the enjoyment of yourselves and others, and that's a lot of work for something that, you do not for the money. That's for sure. We all know that. And, I like to thank the other creators that have, embraced me right away. Gray Area, who in Broke Black Man, who did the YouTube Confidential right away. That was excellent. Azora Hype, who's been a help throughout the time and has just done a YouTube Confidential as well. Big thank you to him. I've had nothing but great interactions with that guy, and he knows how to build a community, and I've actually learned quite a bit about him, or from him, not about him, quite a bit from him, as well as the rest of the content creators. And in Deep Geek, I know that he's in a different time zone right now, but I loved our last YouTube Confidential. We're collaborating a lot on Westworld, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about plans I have for the channel. He's great. And our chemistry works really well together. Our videos complement each other, we feel, and he takes, obviously, in Deep Geek, a more deep dive approach to the content. I kind of like to look at things. I try to do things in a different way than others, and I try to give a different spin on it to the best of my ability. And I try to get out as much solid information as possible. So I figure that we complement each other well. We're going to start releasing together, and we're also going to start doing a a monthly and then weekly live stream for Westworld, depending on how it goes. But the first one will be on his channel this month, the 27th. So be on the lookout for that. His live streams are great. I caught up on his last night when I got home from my niece's recital, and it was just fantastic. I mean, Robert is the nicest guy in the world. So, but all the content creators that have been supportive, everything from a retweet to coming on and collaborating or just a private chat, helping me out. It took a lot longer to get to 1,000 subs than I hoped it would, obviously. But with any creative venture, I mean, first comes the idea, and then you got to try to make that idea a reality. You got to try to actually make it happen. So as you're molding it, it tends to form into something that usually doesn't resemble much of what you had in mind in the first place. But that's a good thing. Because like I said, I originally had planned on doing a podcast, and I still would like to do one, but my original idea was to not ever be, stuck to one platform, one fandom, really. And it's a lot harder to get together a solid group of people for a podcast than most think. A lot of people like to drink beer and talk with their friends and have a nice podcast that they enjoy, but it's rarely enjoyable for others. So we'll talk about that down the line. But I would like to do some hosting. I would like to get some roundtables of some big content creators, not just the YouTube Confidential. I'm sure talking a big group of people. Tell me if you guys think it'd be something you'd want to watch, but to talk about these big issues, like the end game for Game of Thrones. Like, let's get together the biggest Thrones people. I want to host that roundtable. I want to direct the questions. I want to keep it organized so we don't have people talking over each other, like most live streams are. I talk over BBM and Milter. I'm the one that's usually talking over people, but I would like to see a more organized approach to these live streams. And some people do them really well, but I would like to get some of the bigger hitters. And I think I would be a great host for something like that. And I'd like to start getting that going. But the Westworld has always been my bread and butter, and I've been covering it since the beginning, and I've been covering it during the off season when nobody gave a shit about Westworld. So I'm hoping that that's really gonna take off, and I'm hoping to God that season 2 is good. It has every indication of being great because they actually developed the whole storyline before they did it. That's not what they did in season 1, and they know where they're going, and they took the time to do it. God knows they took the time to do it. So let me look in the chat and see what's going on here. Yeah, and also Bran the Builder, who's in the chat. Thank you so much. I mean, Bran writes, like, he's got his craziness that's out right now, and I mean that in a good way. It's his genius / madness that he just posted on Focalizer and Amino, and we're trying to do a video on it. It's just Bran. I'll admit it. I mean, some of the stuff goes over my head, and I'm pretty educated when it comes to Game of Thrones. I know my shit, but Bran takes it to a whole new level. So sometimes it's hard to adapt your stuff, but the ideas that comes from you, Bran, are just amazing. And I can't imagine the amount of time that takes. So one of the issues I had, I think, when I first was starting, and why it took a little bit longer than probably should have to hit the 1K, is, I was trying so hard to be different. And I was trying so hard to be complex and so hard to make these, profound connections to Game of Thrones and Westworld, and, kind of just, turning my nose up when I had no right to it, other people's content. And I watch those videos now, and I'm like, it's just, it's not telling me anything other than I'm pushing to try to prove some profound point or some, higher, viewpoint on this topic, that doesn't even really deserve to be approached, in this fashion. But I'm going to try to look at it like I'm a philosopher or something. So I think it was just the attempt to try to be different so hard that, different isn't always good. So it becomes to the point where it's like you're just trying to be different. You're not trying to make good content. I think once you get more comfortable, like I'm getting more comfortable now, I'm doing a few videos. I'm trying to get them out daily that don't even have my voiceover in them, that are just straight news videos, because I just realized that's what I like to watch too. Like, I like to watch the deep dives and stuff like that, but I also like to get just like the news to me straight up. Like, just tell me what the fuck's going on, and that's it. Good, thank you. 2 minutes, not like a half-hour thing of me saying, but then if you look at this and make this connection and blah blah blah, and then 18 minutes later you might figure out something. And then when I'm trying to make some profound point, like I said, so the first probably 10 to 12 videos were you know, a little bit shitty. I'll just say shitty. They're just a little bit you know, overthought, and like I said, trying to be different too much. So it's just, I guess, about being comfortable and trying to get your feet wet, and that's why I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, Brand, you make so many connections, it's crazy, but I love it. I just had to figure out the hook to make the video out of it, you know. I mean, if you take too long to make a point on YouTube, man, people leave that video quick. But it doesn't mean it's not intelligent. It's smart as hell, but it's I got to get that hook for people to bring them in, reel them in. And Broke Black Man, you need the another person that's been working with me. You need to start doing reviews. You're one of the most freaking probably one of the most informed guys about especially a variety of shows. The amount of shows that you are currently caught up on, like literally currently, like watching as they air and breaking down in your reactions, it surpasses probably most recap and reviewers. So I think you should keep going more towards the reviews, man. I would love to see that. I know we talked about it. Lady Wolverton into another great example of somebody that just does live streams for the fun of it and is informed about what you're talking about and has a good time. I don't know if anybody would be interested in doing a book club ever, but I know I would definitely want to do it. I'm reading right now The Storytelling Animal. And it's really interesting. It's about, you know, why we tell stories and stuff like that. Cause I do like to look at the more philosophical, you know, meanings and, you know, themes of these stories in just the deeper meanings and why we love the shows we love. Like, why is it that there's this grouping of shows that so many of us are so passionate about? And I really do like to dive deep into that. I think it's just, you know, a matter of finding like the nice like middle point of doing it and doing it in a way that is going to be viewable on YouTube and isn't just somebody coming to a conclusion over 45 minutes that, you know, you probably could have summed up in 10 or 20 if you would have done it properly. But, you know, it's that old saying that if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. So I've learned that too. It's better to do more research and get it down so you can explain it quickly than to try to do 45 minutes on something that gets 50 views, spend 2 weeks on a video that gets 50 views. But only read the bathroom walls. Oh, Milk K. Yes, Milk K are... we haven't done In the Mix in a while because I don't know how this is sounding, but In the Mix, the tech was just going bad. I mean, I rewatched one of the last episodes and I was like, how are people watching this? Because it kept breaking up. And I mean, it was nobody's fault. It's just the internet. But I don't know if it's because it's North Carolina shit or whatnot, but it's I'm like, I can't have that. So we got to figure out something. But Milk K are our geophysicists. So we're going to be doing those Winterfell videos still and get something out. But you know, yeah, the Westworld, definitely. You know, I run the Mino. I'll put it in the information below and get that going. And you know, if you guys want to join up, it should be a lot busier this year and whatnot. But it's going to be a good season. I think it's going to be different than people are expecting. That's for sure. We're going to be starting for sure. It's been confirmed that the main rebellion will be done by the time we start the season. So it will be done probably in flashbacks and stuff. But I think it's going to be a little bit more you know, complex than people are figuring. It's not going to be just the hosts versus the humans and the security and whatnot. I think we're going to see a lot of infighting. I think we're going to see an issue with Maeve and Dolores. I think we're going to see Bernard playing both sides of the fence, since he's got to be fucked in his head with just he's sitting on the fence just figuring out who he is right now. So I think that we're going to be dealing with a lot of internal struggle, especially since not all the hosts are technically have the coding that are supposed to, you know, start them on that journey to enlightenment, free will, sentience, all those, you know, things that are actually very subjective. But I think it's going to be really, really good. What about Ford? he's it's making me look like an asshole. AU Pack Mule. That's what's going on with Ford, because I said there's no fucking way Anthony Hopkins is coming back, because, and I still stand by this. I guess this is why I'm on YouTube talking and I'm not in Hollywood being somebody's manager. But it's like, it just makes sense for me to have him back. I'm like, 10 solid performances. You know, he's older. He gets to pick his jobs. He was doing some Keen Lear right before this was filming, but then because again, I was covering Westworld just to try to keep my SEO up, and then my channel deletion actually screwed that up. So I had to start from scratch with it, but whatever, that's behind me. And I got the news that, yeah, he was looking like he was on set. So it's looking like we're going to get, but I guarantee that he is not still alive. And I don't think that we're going to see a host for it. I still stick by that. I just think we're going to see flashbacks. There's just going to be him in flashbacks. I would like to say it would just be voiceovers, because, you know, I always assume that we would be hearing Ford in their heads for quite a while longer. But there's, I mean, with the way production works, again, you know, I have a little bit of knowledge about this. They wouldn't be flying him out to location to be doing VO. So, yeah, everybody that was telling me that he's going to come back. What's in the mug? Actually, coffee. I was a club DJ for 10 years, and I never drank coffee. I just drank liquor. So now I just drink coffee and do YouTube. It's a nice Justin Thomas Show mug, though. But that I made that just for me, because I'm I don't know, probably a little bit pretentious. I think Ford is going to be in flashback, so I don't think that we're going to see host Ford. I don't see him going that route. But yeah, I look like an asshole on that one, especially with people within the Mino community. I was like shutting it down. I'm like, I was so sick of hearing it. I was like, no way. I was like, it's the perfect ending. All that could happen is he could go down from there. But yep, I'm looking like a dick. Robert Ford was a coward. Yes. Yeah, Ford. If you're talking about Jesse James, Bob Ford, yeah. Oh, Amber, yeah, I want to thank all my recently I've gotten a few Patreons, and I can't tell you how much that means to have people that are willing to, you know, support the channel financially. I do inspire to eventually, you know, turn this into a money-making venture, but that's not my main goal right now. There are plenty of things that I would like to buy that would improve this channel, which would improve this internet, which would improve this shitty camera, stuff like that. And these Patreons are helping me do that. And more so, I really do. Like, I mean, I think we got 5 people right now. I'm in there and I'm asking, I truly want to know what they want me to cover, because if you just let me cover what I'm going to cover all day long every week, you know, it's going to get a little stale. I want to be pushed to go cover other things. I really do look at my Patreon as a community, as a group of people that are not just, you know, financiers of the show, but they're actually, you know, involved in the actual production and the actual development. You know, like their advice means a lot to me. What they want means a lot to me, because I've always done some form of entertainment, whether it was, you know, stand-up, acting, DJing, a little bit of, you know, on-camera stuff. There is that entertaining, you know, that bug in me, the entertainer bug in me, that, you know, it does please me to go and watch a show that I've never seen before and learn about it. You know, I'm not one of those people that have to always cover something that I'm necessarily in love with. I enjoy this is the first time I've done it live, and I didn't plan it. I just, like I said, I couldn't get the video out that I was going to get out. So I just said, I'm like, I'll do it live. I don't know how well it's going, but there is that part of me that enjoys, gets a thrill out of, you know, being on stage. I never wanted to be a DJ. I was, you know, in acting school and waiting tables. And a guy asked me if I wanted to be a DJ. I said, no. He said, do you like booze and, you know, prime rib and girls? I was like, yeah. And that was because I was 20, and I did that for 10 years and learned how to be a, you know, like a real DJ, like beat mixing, scratching. I worked in Detroit clubs for 10 years because I just like being on stage. You know, I mean, it was like a love. There was a thrill in being on the microphone and doing private events and stuff like that, you know, I got addicted to. You know, I loved being in front of people and doing stuff like that. So join up with the Patreon. And yeah, again, for my Patreons, I mean, they're so great, so understanding, and such great people, and they have good ideas. So I hope that we keep growing. I hope we keep growing with people like we have, because I couldn't be happier. Let's see. I'm going through this. Ooh, way off topic radio. I've heard a lot of good things about you guys, and I apologize if I'm a little bit all over the map here. I'm trying to read this. I haven't done one of these before. So let's see. Way off topic radio. Yeah, I've heard really great, and I am one of those idiots that I hear about something and then I just don't go and look at it for so long. And I've probably been hearing about you guys for the last 6 to 8 months, and I need to go and listen and see what's going on over there, because I hear nothing but great, and thank you. So yeah. As far as other things that I'm going to be covering other than Westworld, Game of Thrones, and so on, The Walking Dead a little bit. I don't know if you guys want to get into that at all. The Maggie looks like what's her? I'm blanking on the name right now that plays Maggie, Lauren Cohen, but it looks like she's taken a lot of offers for shows. In my opinion, if they lost her, they'd be done. They'd be done. But I mean, The Walking Dead's been a shit show this past season. It has not been very good. But before that, Peaky Blinders, I am just obsessed with it. It's so in the trope video I'm doing right now, and I guess I should probably talk about that a little bit. I'm doing a series on tropes, and mostly the subversion of tropes, like Game of Thrones. When we're always talking about, I've said it in live streams a lot. He breaks all the tropes of the fantasy genre and stuff, and he does. George does, and that's something that really is makes the show appealing and makes the show work. But also, like I'm bringing to light the tropes that he utilizes, like the icy blue eyes and occult blue eyes that are in the White Walkers, that are also in Vikings with Ragnar Lothbrok and Ivor the Boneless, and also in Peaky Blinders with Thomas Shelby, like Cillian Murphy. The utilization of these base aesthetics, these tropes, tropes are just any element of storytelling. They are, the bad boy gets girls, that's a trope. The hero's journey, that's a trope. The prophecy, chosen one, that's a trope. Everything is technically, you couldn't make a film, a television series, we couldn't write a novel without tropes. And if you manage to do it, which would be impossible, because even if you just had a blank screen, that would be a trope, blank screen. But if you did manage to do it, it would then become a trope by default. It would be the tropeless movie trope. So I think it's really interesting because he utilizes, like think about these things. We think he breaks all these rules, and I'm not downing on it because that's what makes it work. He subverts a lot of the classic tropes of the fantasy as far as like the chosen one goes. We see multiple people being called the chosen one: Stannis, Beric Dondarrion, Dany, Jon. We see it not working out, so we see those tropes be subverted. But then you have like the lovable rogue with Bran. Bronn, Bran is not lovable anything. He's lovable like meth addict maybe. You see these tropes, and then like the simple aesthetic ones, like the icy blue eyes, the occult blue eyes, like I'm talking about, just simple things that they work, and it helps. So when you do subvert the trope, there is that element of surprise, and that's what makes you like it, because there's really not too much that's original anymore. I mean, all these people are like, oh, everything's the same, and it's like, well, I think that the person that wrote the last original story was a caveman on a wall, and we've been adapting them ever since. So you got to figure out ways around it, and the best shows subvert tropes. They subvert expectation. That's what Game of Thrones does. When they cut off Ned's head, they subvert expectations, but you got to set expectations, subvert them. So you got to follow the rules too. And I think that's something that's overlooked, but there's also a lot of crossover with tropes that I'm really loving. TropeTV.com. It's like a wiki for tropes. You can just search anything, any show, and they'll show you what tropes it has, which characters have them, and you can do a cross reference. It's fascinating. Let me see. Cohen wants more money. Okay, Amanda Kane is in here. I'm here for Walking Dead. Okay, so she wants more money. They can give her what's his face this month, Chandler Riggs. Yeah, I thought that was not bad. I was like, well, you know what? They should set themselves apart from the comics, and I don't think Chandler Riggs was a good actor. And I think that, hey, I mean, the motivation for Rick at this point, it's like, okay, I don't know. This does throw it off a little bit, but when I saw the death, I said, hey, they might be coming back from this. And I am usually pretty good at feeling out how people will react to this stuff. I was way off. And so were they, because it was a shitstorm. But I actually was like, okay, good. I was like, this is changing it up. This is, again, subverting expectations. And this is what makes good television. This is nice. I mean, Chandler Riggs, I mean, whatever. But it is an issue. I mean, there's so much foreshadowing of Chandler. You know, I'm not talking about even bringing the comics into this. I'm talking about just going by what the story's done so far. It's been very clear that Rick's motivation is his family, and that Rick, you know, I mean, he says, he's like, I will die one day, mom will die one day when they're at the best season, the farm season. And there's a lot of if they tell me they always planned on killing him, bullshit. Listen, I mean, I just might be an amateur, you know, screenwriter, but I'll tell you what, the writing in that show does not indicate they ever planned on killing Carl until this last half of the season. And I don't blame them. I'm just saying that it wasn't something that was always planned. They probably got sick of that kid's dad running tours on the side. But let's see. Yeah, I mean, but if they lost, I mean, do you guys think they could do it without Maggie? That's the hilltop. I mean, that's such a, and again, how screwed would they be? Because there's been so much foreshadowing for Maggie taking the leadership position. And by foreshadowing, I mean like heavy-handed dialogue. So just imagine if they lose her, then they lose Daryl. They lose Daryl, and it's a Morgan show. They should just do Morgan with a stick with that whatever that guy's name was in the goats. I think that would be great. I think that, and then they're merging with The Walking Dead, which is a clear show of desperation. I think that Fear the Walking Dead, they should cut that shit off like a fucking cancerous tumor. But yeah, I guess, I mean, man, that's one hell of a, I got to give it to Lauren Cohen for being such a ballsy negotiator, because man, if she left, they would be fucked. So I don't know where her contract's at, but that's some pretty hardcore. Yeah, Morgan is going to Fear, and the picture, spoiler, I'll try to be a good guy, spoiler alert, the pictures indicate that they're going to be crossing over into, this will not be like pre-Walking Dead Morgan. This will be like, I guess sometime the timeline looks like within the last season, that somehow he went and visited wherever they're at. I don't watch the show. I watched the first two. Yeah, Fear is terrible, and them putting Morgan in it, I don't even, yeah, I would, if anything, I'd take some of the popular characters. I think that people like a few of the characters, and I'd bring them over to The Walking Dead. But you know, they'll milk as much money out of that thing until they drain it. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that. When you compare a show like that to some of the other shows that are coming out, I mean, television is just continuously stepping it up. Peaky Blinders, it's been out for a few years. A lot of people are just discovering it, like myself. So good. If you haven't watched it, just go and watch it. It is near Game of Thrones level. There's not as much, you know, theory crafting and stuff like that, but it's so damn entertaining. Shows like Babylon Berlin. I know a lot of people, probably AU Packney, would really like that. That's an excellent show. It's got that a little bit of noir, and it's, you know, it's quirky, and it's actually completely German made, but it's not subtitles, so it's really good. And stuff like The Deuce and other stuff. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. So I think that shows like The Walking Dead, I think that surprisingly, with their most anticipated villain, Negan, they might die during what they probably figured would be the peak of their success. And if they lose anybody else that's from the original group, they're screwed. If they lose Morgan, they would be hurt. They could probably afford to lose him. That'd be it. But yeah, Lauren Cohen, she leaves, they're done. I guess talk a little Game of Thrones here. Let's see. Way off topic radio. I gave up Walking Dead after what they did, threatening the fan site not to release who killed Negan's prediction. Oh, I didn't hear about that. Dark on Netflix. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen 13 Reasons, and one of my Patreons is gonna hate me because I just got over the flu, and I was supposed to start watching the Black Mirror, and I didn't want to watch it and have fever dreams like a pansy, and I got to push myself to watch it. But I don't. What about Altered Carbine? Has anybody seen that yet? What are your thoughts on that? I think Netflix also needs to come to a quick realization that nobody wants to watch their feature movies. Like nobody wants to see anything that they got going on. Netflix is not a substitution for the movies yet. Not if they keep showing the movies that they're showing. That Cloverfield movie, was it Cloverfield Paradox? That there was a reason that they didn't market that, and they let it off. They didn't want reviewers to get a hold of that thing. Oh, who Negan killed. You never heard about half of these? Well, okay, we'll go to Game of Thrones really quick, and I don't know how many people are actually still on this. Yeah, as far as Game of Thrones, I mean, obviously we are getting a few spoilers. I won't go into them, but I think that we're clearly going to see. I mean, we are in the third act, essentially, if you just want to break it into acts, and there's not much that can happen other than, Kit Harington and crew. I guess we'll just whatever. Danny, Kit, and crew have to, have their confrontation with the walkers. They need to do something with the walkers to humanize them, for lack of a better word. We need to see an angle. We need to, be engaged in their culture a little bit. We have to get a little bit more into why are they doing what they're doing. And you'll obviously have whatever ends up happening with the twist, and who, if they go with your heroes, journey ending or not, or if, we know it's going to be bittersweet. I don't imagine it'll be Kit Harington running with a flaming sword. They'll do a 1v1 battle with the Night King, but it'll be interesting. And then you'll have your, a little bit of your conflict pick back up really quick with the Cersei issue, and they'll have to deal with that. I know a lot of people are saying that Cersei right now is rumored to make it to the end. I think that would make. I don't know, for the bittersweet that makes sense. I don't know what you guys think, but it's definitely interesting. But I mean, there's just not much more. I mean, there's 6 episodes, and they can claim as much as they want that it's going to be feature length. But I mean, what did we get last time? Like 7 extra minutes to it. It's just a lot of CGI that they're doing that takes the time, and that's why it's going to take a long time. I doubt we're going to get an hour and a half episodes every single time. Or some people are, oh, we get 2-hour episodes. No, we're not. Absolutely not going to. But I think that personally, the war for the Dawn is going to be over quicker than we think. And I think that Cersei, because the humans have always been the real monsters in this. That's kind of like the moral of the story, So I think that they're going to be having to deal with themselves at the end. I think that the battle for the Long Night or whatever, that's going to be over quick. I think that'll be over by the 3rd episode. That'll be they get some resolution from there, and we'll pick it up. Because like I said, I mean, you have to look at it for the time they have to achieve. They can't go into too much, because we also have to touch on the aftermath of all this, which is going to at least be an episode and a half. Maybe the last episode will be like 2 hours, maybe, and they'll do it all then. But the aftermath is going to have to be touched on. So I don't see this actual, especially with the set picks that we've seen. Again, I won't do spoilers, but it looks like shit is hitting the fan quick. And that's what I was predicting. It's going to hit the fan quick, and they're going to have to deal with it quick. It's not going to be a drawn out battle. It's going to be like 2 or 3 large battle sets, action sets, and that'll be it. And then we'll have, your menacing Cersei in the back. And I think Sansa's going to be the one that's going to, be putting together people to deal with that. But let's see. Cersei survives the army of the dead. Yeah, I mean, bittersweet. I don't know. I mean, so many things could happen. I see Sansa making it to the end. That's all I see. Bran could draw a million comparisons for us here. I'd like to get a AI version of you, Bran, in my computer that I could just do like cross references with for characters to see all the connections that you make. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I mean, HBO is going to make a lot of Sansa's. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you get that Elizabeth Tudor, connection with her and whatnot. But it's just what leads me to believe that Sansa will make it to the very end is because of her character arc. It's just like, what was the point of all this punishment? And yes, there's the times where it's just like, hey, Theon might get one of those. He might get a little redemption with maybe saving Yara, and then he might die, but actually see him making it too. But it's just not too many times, even with a bittersweet ending, that you're going to see Sansa just get killed off. Like, it's just they wasted too much time developing this. Time and time again, ran through the ringer Sansa. Not to do something with that. I mean, who else has had the and again, I don't really love her. Everybody thinks I love her character because a lot of people hate her. I mean, it's all right, but I'm just saying, like, from a writer's point of view, it's like, why do you have her, journey all across Westeros. Only other person in our main story is Tyrion that's done this. Why do you have her experience all this if you don't plan on doing something with it? I mean, she's dealt with the intricacies of court life with Cersei. She's bowed her head and learned to bear it and make it through just to live. And then hopefully the idea is she was only burying it and making it through to live and not making a stand right there because she could achieve a greater good out of all this pain. That's, and she's not a warrior. She's not a killer. That's why the stuff with Ramsay was a little shaky, but it's, Game of Thrones doesn't reward the people that kill. I mean, it's an anti-war story. It's anti-violence. So I don't know. I don't see, I see Arya going. Like, a lot of people think Arya's going to, there's no point of Arya living. I like her as a character, but she's a fucking serial killer. It just doesn't go along with the theme. So it is also Dan and Dave, who are now in charge of Star Wars and are going to write decided to use all their capital to do Confederate, which is, that's a good move in this day and age, in this social climate. But I don't know. I think that I wish Stannis would. I'll tell you what, I would suspend so much disbelief just to get fucking Stannis back and be like, she missed. I don't even care. Not even a good reason. Not like, oh, I had like she didn't kill me because there's all these theories that he about honor and all this with her, and that she didn't do it for all these various reasons. But I think that maybe like she just missed, like Brienne just very not like her, very good swordsman that she is. She missed, and he just moved his head and he rolled away, and he's like, I'm actually okay, and he just comes back and rules it. Santa should just run the shit. I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the books with Stannis and how they're going to deal with that, because obviously he dies. I don't think he's going to make it to the end in the books either, but I don't really know how they're going to go about killing him in the books. I don't think he's going to lose to Roose. I hope he doesn't. Yes, he is the true king. He's the only one, man. I'm a real big stickler for the actual, like, what do you call it? The feudalistic, not chain of command. I can't think of a word right now. For how the succession should go. Who should, who's actually the rightful heir, and they throw, they're real fast and loose with that shit. Stannis was the one. He was the oldest brother. Succession should have went to him. It's just clear cut. That's the way it goes, and he should have been king. Story's over. Andrew, my Aussie mate, how are you doing, brother? Stannis will, in the books, he's gonna fall. I don't think Dan and Dave would have killed, because George is still George wasn't just watching The Last Kingdom when that was happening. Lately he hasn't been involved at all. He's been tweeting about the show's potential rival. Andrews is in the chat also. Thank you to Andrew, one of the most knowledgeable Walking Dead people. Again, right now that's like being the most knowledgeable person on like brain cancer. But it is I don't know, maybe Andrew will know how to fix The Walking Dead. He definitely knows what he's doing with that. Let's see. Way off topic with double D's. I don't see I don't see Stannis dying in the books. Oh, really? Yeah. Hey, I don't want him to die. I'm just, I don't know. Are Dan and Dave that bold? They would have killed him off. I think he's too powerful of a character. It's like Renly. Renly is a clear example of George. Like, and everybody, like, everybody likes to think that George had a, like this master plan, for the book. And it's like, he had a pretty good idea. Most likely he clearly does not know how to get out of certain situations in Essos and some other places, and he's ridden himself into a corner. But like Renly, the situation with Renly, that is a clear case of him just like not subverting any tropes and following cliches and tropes. Subjectively, probably the same thing, but by just killing off Renly in the way he did, just straight using magic. There was really no basis for that whatsoever, and it was just like, oh shit, I made Renly way too powerful. Like the parlay with Stannis, it's like, they're having it. It's like, oh, we'll meet tomorrow. And then George's probably like, oh, what the hell happened? If they meet tomorrow, then Stannis is going to die. So, yeah, he builds up characters real tall, and then he sometimes does have to knock them down. I think he did admit officially that he messed up with the numbers, especially in the War with the Five Kings with the size of the armies, because Renly was just an unstoppable force, especially if you have the alliance with him and Robb. No way. No way anybody could. No way. They just plow everything. Even the Night King could have came at that point. They would have fucking ran him. So he admitted that he made them too powerful. So I mean, he's human. I mean, it doesn't make it bad writing. It's just he's human. He's writing. So I mean, he needs to start writing faster. But let's see. Yeah, I mean, yes, Amanda is correct here. Another theme is, that these prophecies and all this, the adverse effects of these, staking your beliefs, at least being fanatical. I know that he is agnostic. He's not an atheist. But he definitely doesn't like put a lot of clout, or weight behind religious beliefs. And he does believe that, prophecies are, religion, whatever, it has an adverse effect on people, especially people that seek to come to power through divine right. That's an underlying tone of the story. So you're absolutely right. I mean, especially by the time he burns his daughter, he's dead. But I mean, the shadow baby was enough. But I think that the Shireen thing, was the original goal. I don't really think he planned on having the shadow baby thing happen until he had to get rid of Renly, and there was absolutely no way it could happen in battle, unless he could have like just wrote it like Stannis just outmaneuvers him like a motherfucker, like nobody has ever done in the history of fucking mid-century European battle. But Stannis is the Night's King. Is that you going for that for sure, Bran? Yeah, he's too rigid to be a ruler. Yeah. I didn't like how the actor shitted on the show when he was done. He was pretty shitty about the show in some interviews. The guy that played Stannis. Stannis is in the books only. No, Stannis, yeah, he's in the books. He's still alive. I think they're gonna be turning the phrase into they're gonna be dumping him in that ice lake, in my opinion. Well, Brands, shadow babies are the all right, yeah, you would know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I just think that he made a hasty decision, to say the least, with Renly. That he wrote a character that he made too powerful by accident and put him into a situation that he couldn't have him win, but also the logic that he had established didn't really, constitute him winning. So they had to do something. So can't wait to watch your link, Brian. Got a clear. Yeah, if you want to read one of Brand's, I tried to read it when I was sick, and I was like, God, it's so good, but it just makes your brain go all over the place. That's why if we do a video for it, brother, we gotta we gotta find a hook for it, either the horn or the second wall, in my opinion. But yeah, it's fantastic. It's got some controversy behind it. Some people have talked to me about it. I don't really have any issues with it, but some people think you're making some bold claims there, brother. I don't think you go too far. I think you might make some connections in it that technically work, but they don't essentially mean as much. But I think overall, you've got a pretty solid case for everything that you don't make too many bold claims. I mean, you always write. That's why you write like how I write. Like you're putting forth an idea. You're not like, and this is exactly what's going to happen. So I don't know, but some people do think. I've read some of the comments on our page here. Some people are thinking that you full of shit, brother, but I don't think they're too bright. Let's see. Winterfell's a night for it. D&D pay him to act like that. Yeah, Stephen, Delane. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the name. Yeah, he kind of shit on the show, like in some interviews after. He's like, I don't get why people like it so much and all. It's like, hey man, just don't be a douche. Like especially when people are so passionate about the show. Like you don't get it, you don't get it. I mean, whatever. I guess he was more like Stannis than we knew. I mean, I guess they did make him burn a child, so maybe some people are pretty mean to him on the street. I mean, I get it though. I mean, like that's probably hard to shoot. I mean, I've seen some of the other stuff he does. Does a lot of like detective stuff and stuff like that. British television. Well, first off, it's a higher medium for them because they don't have Hollywood there, obviously, because Hollywood is in California. This is Justin Thomas tip of the day, fact of the day. But they, they're more theater oriented because the London theater is very prominent, and they have their their groups, their actual theater groups, and then they will usually go and they will act in projects both American and British, and they will stick with their group of people for the most part that they did theater with, from the beginning. But the television shows that they do too are sometimes you get like some real good stuff, but some like there's a show, I forget what it's called, but it has Ramsey in it. Ewan, whatever, and it's worse than Inhumans. It's a silly ass show, and it also has what's his name, the guy that played the original Magneto in X-Men. It has him. It's let me look it up really quick. It's the silliest fucking show I've ever seen. And it's got Ramsey in it. It's got a lot of big name actors in it. And it's like a terrible, it looks like it's like a adult Nickelodeon slash, so it's a fucking hot mess. Yeah. And they do it. They do a lot of questionable, like they just don't, they act in a lot of stuff that American actors wouldn't act in, but also a lot of their television, on the other hand, is far superior than ours. A lot of like Peaky Blinders and all that, a lot of stuff that's made over there is incredibly well done because they put the amount of time and production into it that we would put in the movies. I mean, obviously we're all going that route with streaming recently, that all television is a higher medium than it used to be ever since the golden age of television. But what is this? Ewan, let's see. You guys got to look this show up. It's a little bit ridiculous. It is Vicious. This has Ian McKellen in it, Derek Jacobi, Ramsey, Ewan Rian or whatever. A lot of big name people. It's called Vicious, Vicious. Look it up. It is a terrible shit show of a show, and it has Academy nominated and one award winning actor in it, and it is something that should be on like Bravo or something. It's terrible. It's a hot mess. But probably wrap it up soon here. Let me get back to you guys. Sorry, I have to get back to my super chat here. Not my super chat, my chat. Yeah, but we do have the trope. Sorry, I get back to the chat here. The pearls are risen. Yeah, no problem, Cardinal. Yeah, Amberlin. Yeah, British is it's I don't know if they're just willing to be more silly. Maybe they're not afraid to put themselves out there. Maybe there's something to be said for that. But I don't see them American actors taking the risks that they do. Oh yeah, he was in the bridge. And let's see. Agree with Amanda. Yeah, and also thank you, Cammy, who runs the game of the Gainbaners of Throne thread. You've been a great help by getting me more subscribers and stuff throughout the last month. It's highly appreciated. Just for people that share it, people that comment, people that just enjoy it. I mean, it means so much. So I hope that will really take off. I'd like to way off topic radio. So are you guys? You guys are a podcast. I've come to that conclusion. But how many people are a part of this production? Yeah, the Bridge 4, we've been actually with the Westworld people that I'm working with, we've been actually not me personally, but I told some people to reach out to him to see if he was willing to jump in on a few live streams down the road. I really like, I don't know, that's one of the content creators I do not know, but I really enjoy his work. He he's really informed, and I think I share a lot of his perspectives. I definitely like to work with him at some point. Living my Rhapsody. You tagged me in a tweet, and then I watched the video. Was this some type of challenge? It was late when I watched it. It was, I think you wanted us to give our ideas about what we want to see, not what the news reports or spoilers are seeing, but how we wanted the season. I don't know if you were challenging us or just calling us all out on our bullshit, which you're right to do. We are just bullshit. Living my Rhapsody. Okay, so what is the game? Am I right on that? Is that what you were, is that what you were implying? You wanted to know, like, do you want us to do like fan fiction, or do you want me to like, like contrive like the actual situation I think that's gonna happen? Because I did do like with a fever a terrible Sansa video that I don't know why that it's kind of a mess, but with my grouping of people, which I stick by, just the delivery of that video was not desired, not to be desired. Let's see. So yeah, you got bored. I seen me tagged with like Because Geek, Smoke Screen, I believe, In Deep Geek, and a bunch of other creators, and you were asking us to do something. Me and my friend Pez have a lot of different guests on. Come on, whenever. Yeah, I'd love to. I've heard. I'm not joking. I've heard a lot of good stuff about you guys. Let's see. Yeah, I think that people really. What is if you don't mind, what is your? I don't want to just keep calling you way off topic radio. What is your name? Unless that is your name, that's your parents are like, he's gonna have a podcast. They're like, what's a podcast? It's 1985. And we'll give you see. I think we'll do what you would hate to see. Okay, so you living my Rhapsody. Interesting name as well. Yeah. So okay, Frank. Gotcha. Yeah, Frank, I think that people, like I said, I think they underestimate how difficult everybody wants to do a podcast. Everybody's like, especially YouTubers, are like, hey man, we should do a podcast because they think it's so easy. And they don't understand that the good podcasts, like my buddies from Shat on TV, they do Westworld better than anybody. They are fantastic at it. The chemistry those gentlemen have, the amount of intelligence that they have within them, the amount that they are able to delegate, the actual topics within each other smoothly and coherently, and give real information back to people in an entertaining way that is loose, but it's also getting the point across. A lot of people think it's like, hey, they drink beer and because anybody you can get shit faced and just ramble on. I'm doing it sober right here, and it's not that interesting. Like everybody thinks everybody wants to hear them and their friends talk like about Game of Thrones and stuff. It's like, no, not really. And not, nobody wants to see somebody always say like, oh, because it's like, man, we can just be loose with it. Nobody wants to see somebody, loosen their tie, per se, or, unbuckle their belt and, sit back and have a few if they've never seen them, organized and, with everything, buckled up, tight, it's not interesting because you're just essentially just some person. So, people, they don't realize how hard it is to have a good podcast, the one that is, it is fluent and people know who's taking the lead on what topic, and they don't it's not just over talking or talking over each other. It's about, like knowing where your strengths are and knowing how to delegate out topics and knowing how to, it's almost like improv, but you have an idea of what's going to happen. I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there that don't outline anything and they don't plan this and they don't talk about anything I'm talking about in that fantastic podcast. Good for them. But from my experience, you need to be very, very organized. You need to have people that are dedicated. That's why the podcast never worked with me. The people that I was working with, some of them very top content creators, some not, that were involved, and I knew that some wouldn't be doing the damn research, and they wouldn't be doing the outline, and they wouldn't, be ready for the actual, broadcast, and that just falls apart. Everything falls apart at that point. Let's see. So I think that, when people successfully, put out a podcast that is, really enticing and keeps people interested for the hour, however long they plan to be on, and it's something that deserves a lot more credit. I think a lot of people think it's easy. It's like, get on a microphone and just shoot the shit. Like, that's what I'm doing right now. And admittedly, thank you guys for being here. But admittedly, if somebody were to listen to this as a podcast, they'd be like, what the fuck is this? I mean, you gotta be on the point. Like, you gotta have your outline out there. You gotta know who is taking the lead on this, so where you stand in that conversation, so you get some actual, you're expressing what you want to express, and you're expressing it like in a way that doesn't take an hour for you to get out what you're trying to say, like what's happening with me. So I give props to all you guys that do a podcast correctly and do a good podcast, because it's saturated just like YouTube. Let's see, the long night isn't hot. So okay, so and then living my rhapsody. So you just essentially want to know what we want to see and what we wouldn't want to see. What I want to see is, I want to see the harsh reality of the Night King and the army just running through the fences. I want to see the people of the North, not just people, but the people of Westeros, just realize how ill prepared they are, and how much the ramifications of the War of the Five Kings. Not just that, but if you look at how often they've been warring, since you look at like what Tywin had been in Blackfire. I think Tywin and Blackfish are the veterans of like 5 wars technically. Yeah, because he had the Blackfire Rebellion and Roberts. 5. Yeah, like, so you have people. I mean, they've been engaged in warfare. I think that the longest period of time, I did something on this essay on this a long time ago, that Westeros hasn't been in a full-blown like, not just a little like skirmish, like a full-blown engagement, like a battle, a war with somebody, whether it's the Blackfires or the War of the Five Kings, or the Greyjoy Rebellion. I think it was 12 years was the longest period of peace they'd had in the last 110 years or something like that. So I want them to, really get across the point that, how much the ramifications of these petty, battles within, fighting, killing their own young men and women, and just human beings in general, over, who's going to be lord of what keep, and potentially, just throwing away life for the benefit of only a few, and just see the consequences of this, and then finally have them band together to fight back, obviously, against the Night King and said army, and give us a little bit of our epic moment of whether it's going to be Jon or Dany having their heroes moment. But it's obviously got to have its twist. I like the whole Winterfell's Lightbringer twist or something. It's a little twist to it, but I want to see them, get essentially defeated. And I think it'd be interesting if the only reason they're not completely annihilated is because the Night King chooses not to, for one reason or another. I'm not too interested in. I don't even care if Bran was in the story even more, even though I know he's gonna probably have a huge role to play. But I would love to see, like the real ravages of the real destruction of war, not just the war they're in right now, but the war that they're in, that they've been in for the last 110 years, and them realizing and actually portraying that, having that come out in the show, that this is devastating, even more so because they've been ignoring the actual issue and they've been fighting within, and then have maybe the only reason they're able to continue on is because of the mercy of the White Walkers. I mean, the White Walkers' motivation and their actual why they're doing what they're doing needs to be somewhat explained, and it needs to be somewhat intriguing. I would like to think it's the somewhat of a break of the pact they had with magic, if you believe that one. I kind of do, with the Return of the Dragons and stuff like that. But and then I would like to see Cersei's situation been being dealt with by Sansa and crew, and Sansa showing, going to the Vale and getting the Knights of the Vale, get them back from the north because they're all committing treason. By the way, they should not be swearing allegiance to. If it wasn't Sweet Robin down there, they would all be fucking dead. They can't. You can't just. I don't know why they were declaring Jon the King of the North, but accession in Game of Thrones is kind of a shit show. But anyways, yeah, I'd like to see her use all the knowledge that she's gained through all these traumatic experiences, because each experience in a character's arc is, assuming they live through them, they should come out on the other end knowing a little bit more. I mean, they didn't do a good job of that with Battle of the Bastards. She bitched at Jon to include her in the plans, and then she's like, I don't know anything about battles, so that was Dan and Dave just being shitty. But I think they need to come through this time. They need to have Sansa and go and potentially marry Sweet Robin. I would like to see that. Go get the Vale Knights. Go and let's hope that what's his name is still not in dungeons, but Edmure is alive. Another thing they dropped the ball with, and get the Tullys, and let's see some unification from the Tullys and the Knights of the Vale. Do a Stark Aaron marriage. Repeat a little bit of history, because we can count on a little bit of history being repeated. Let's hope a Stark going to King's Landing isn't one of those things that gets repeated, but in dying is what I mean. But I do see that as a possibility. But I see, I want to see, I want to see them get their ass whooped for a little bit. Then I want to see something that's gonna, fully express the ideals that they're trying to express throughout this whole story, being anti-war, anti-fanatic, beliefs in these crazy religions, and also he's a feminist, so I don't see Sansa dying either. I see a woman definitely coming out on top. So I'd like to see a struggle, and I'd like to see some smooth operating by Sansa, if that's answers your question there. Rhapsody, it's the best I can do off the top of my head, but I don't know what the twist is going to be with the Walkers. I don't think that what I said will happen with them and ending up not killing them by their own choice, but it's going to be real hard for them to really make us have any type of empathy for the Walkers when they've done no development on them up until the final act. Let's see, what did I miss when I was rambling? Want the Night King to raise the fallen warriors under the sands at Dorne. Yeah, well, Dorne, the city of Dorne, that is Dorne, that they don't acknowledge. Yeah, I think that just because the Sand Snakes died, they don't exist anymore. So I don't see that happen. Let's see. Yeah, I hate Bran, and if they do that bullshit with him, I hate the whole idea of him being the Night King. I hate everything about it. It's not easy. We already talk podcast, whatever. I'm into. There's yeah, like I said, I mean, obviously you do one, Frank, so it's difficult. Yeah, I think Sweet they haven't kept that fucking kid around for nothing. Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna. I don't know how they're gonna play out the whole. I don't know how they're gonna get around the whole prophecy issue. I don't know how they're going to pay that off, but also subvert the trope that, like I was talking about earlier, and subvert expectations by having Kit or Dany not truly be. I mean, do you guys think that they're going to truly have a prince that was promised, or as Missandei said so elegantly to Dany, who speaks fluent Valyrian, that it means princess too. So do you guys think that they're going to have, is somebody going to be the chosen one? Because we have the tropes of the chosen one, and if it's not the chosen one, usually the chosen one will be accompanied by a magical weapon, like Excalibur, the sword. But Game of Thrones has kind of taken that and subverted it a little bit, but they use it because the Valyrian steel weapons are almost all their in Excalibur to a point, if that makes sense to you guys. So it's a little bit interesting. It's not just one. They do have the the prophecy of Lightbringer, obviously, but that's why I tend to believe that it's not an actual sword. Because like the magical weapons, the chosen ones weapons, there's multiple chosen ones and there's multiple prophetic magical weapons as well. So I think that it's going to be tricky for them to walk that line. It's going to be interesting to see how they pay these off, because we got to have that big moment, that big hero moment to a point. I mean, they're not just going to have it be a shit show. It's going to be it's going to have a little bit of cheesiness in it, no matter what. I mean, do you think that somebody's going to come out and they're going to be like, yeah, they were the prince that was promised, and it's going to fucking go? I mean, are they going to realize that Melisandre was just staring at flames like a crackhead? So you think Bran thinks he'll just do the hero's journey? Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, they're ready to race off and make Confederate, and then 18 more years of Star Wars. They'll probably do good with Star Wars. Why not? Why not? I mean, there's only, like I said before, he kills fantasy tropes of your just basic evil orcs, good and bad, and he writes complex characters and stuff like that. But like I said, you have your lovable rogue with Braun. I keep saying Bronn. You have a lot of tropes and story structure that is very much so just straight up fantasy in it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a mix of the both. You can't just go against everything, because then it'll just be a shit show. You have to have your moments of true high fantasy to make, when you subvert the tropes and subvert expectation, to have that mean something. You don't, it's not subverting if it's never go regular. You can't subvert something that has never been played out the conventional way. So I think that we might get more of a storybook ending. I mean, it's a saga too. I mean, come on, how heavy-handedly are they with the baby with Dany? I mean, I think, did they say it 7 times in one episode? Like, it was like they forgot their fucking, like, to do it, and they're like, oh shit, we were supposed to be like doing that storyline for the last 2 seasons. And like, do it all in this episode. It's at the Dragon Pit. Euron he's a good character in the book, but he's a fucking hot topic fucking meth head in the show. He means nothing. I could see the Golden Company turning on them, to be honest. I'd like to see that. Yeah, she'll be like, yeah, I mean, like, how do they do this? You know what I mean? Because they already had Kit come back. They already had Jon come back. So it's like, like I always like to quote Preston Jacobs when he says, prophecy is not prophecy. If somebody prophesizes that I'm going to go get Cheerios, and then I go to the supermarket and get Cheerios, it doesn't mean that they're like a wizard, or, they are a prophet. It means that I chose to go get fucking Cheerios. Cersei was so in her head about Maggie the Frog that she chose to just be the worst mom in the world, and her kids died. That's what happens. You know what I mean? If somebody tells me that, I'm going to go to jail, and then I sit and drink and drive every night and shoot a revolver out the window, yelling, like fucking very insensitive, sayings to everybody I see, I think I'll go to jail. That doesn't mean that somebody's magical. So, I mean, how do they explain Jon's like resurrect? I mean, they can't. I don't know. I have a little bit of an issue with that. I'm very, that's like what I'm most curious to see about how they're going to really like play off. How are they going to play off this subversion of the chosen one, because they've kind of made Jon in Barrack, like, what is the point of them coming back? How are they going to explain that at all? It's like, well, how did they come back at all? I mean, unless there's just magic for no rhyme or reason, I guess. I guess we'll just have to accept it. That's something for somebody that is more intelligent than me. Yeah, I think Edmure too. I love how they put him back, and that's like Jaime's moment. Obviously, and you guys should get the shirt. Cardinal has one that I have it that the books it was better in the books shirt, says every book reader ever, but it was better in the books, obviously, Jaime's arc. But also POV is a hell of a thing, in the books. It's a hell of an asset, because we only see Jaime through Ned's eyes essentially for the first 3 books, right? We don't get a POV from Jamie. Is it that Jamie really changes so much, or is it that we just start getting a POV? It's like in real life, when you have a character or a person, not a character, a person in your life that, say you have a buddy and he hates somebody and you're always hearing stories about him, like you're not going to like that person, but then maybe you meet them and you see it from your point of view, and you might come to a different conclusion. I mean, Jamie does make changes. I'm not saying he doesn't, but the POVs are huge for that. I mean, we don't get a POV from Jamie until after, until Storm of Swords. So, and then we're seeing him before that from Ned's point of view, essentially, and Sansa and Tyrion. Tyrion, you get a little bit of empathy, obviously, because he loves his brother. But yeah, I mean, you really start to have the mixed feelings for Jamie when you're seeing it from his point of view, which, take a walk in somebody else's shoes. It's essentially the same thing. I think that also that what makes that twist so good is that at least myself, I find myself being mad at myself for liking the Starks so much, even though I still like the Starks. But, Ned was kind of a fucking dick to Jamie. He wasn't as honorable. I mean, they put that in there on purpose to show that he wasn't as, he wasn't totally doing everything he preached. Now, God bless him with whatever, with putting up with Catelyn in that lie he had to tell about, Aegon, John, and all that. I mean, he definitely stepped up and he definitely was an honorable man. But the first time we see the Starks, we see what we know to be somebody telling the truth, that fled the Night's Watch, go and get executed by this man. And we somewhat still see him honorable. But I mean, to me, that built up. And then by the time we see this twist with Jamie, I kind of mad at myself because I'm like, man, I was kind of shitting on Jamie more so because of, you don't even think about the pushing of the kid out the window or the incest, but you think about like, oh man, Ned wasn't that great. I was just kind of taking his word for it. That's at least how I think. I think that, obviously not having the ability to do what POVs can do in a book and having the internal monologue, that books have when you're having a television series is obviously a huge disadvantage. But they still mess up when they do things like Edmure. He has that whole huge talk with him about family, and he says he's not going to put him in there, and then the next thing he's telling Walder Frey that he's in the fucking dungeon. It's like, what would you do that for? It's like, why'd you write that? I don't get it. Yeah, I mean, obviously Ned is is an example of, an honorable man in a fucked up world, and somebody that just doesn't question, he's just the soldier. He just does what people tell him is honorable, and no matter what, Will's a great example of that. But it is funny, they do such a good job of it that we do love the Starks right off the bat, and we do see them execute somebody that we know for a fact was telling the truth. But even the first time I read and the first time I watched it, I had no qualms with that. So that's, that's good writing. But yeah, I mean, because Jamie doesn't, because think about it. The incest thing is the whole issue with everything, because that's why Jon Arryn's dead. That's why obviously all the War of the Five Kings starts off. But he's not just pushing Bran off that tower, and I'm not saying it was okay, because he's a sick piece of shit. He's not in the best state of mind, but he's pushing him off because he's protecting the kingdom to a point too, because him pushing Bran off that tower protects that secret. And obviously when that secret gets out, it starts the War of the Five Kings. Now it gets started anyways because you have two meddling motherfuckers, Littlefinger and Varys, which should have been obvious to be like, okay, those guys are stirring up issues. But I mean, he essentially is in a way, you could argue, I'll play devil's advocate and say that Jamie's saving the kingdom by pushing Bran off there. And we'll look what Bran did the Hodor. Fuck that kid. But no, I mean, all jokes aside, I mean, Jamie, when you're looking at it in hindsight, which is 2020, don't bang your sister, even though if she is a manipulative bitch, shouldn't be doing that. Even if it is, whatever, the equivalent to 13th century Europe. I don't think that was cool back then, across the board either. But yeah, essentially, what if Bran would have ran and told, let's just say he didn't push him and he let it go, and then they all found out right at that moment that that's what was going on, and that makes King Robert's, heirs, which were all blonde-haired kids that look like Jamie, which I mean, somebody should have just pointed. He should have known those weren't his kids. But you know, like imagine if that would have just kicked it off right there. What good of like that would have been fucked, right? I mean, what would have Robert have done? They would have been in war with the Lannisters. I mean, the Baratheons, I guess, and the Starks against the West and whoever else they could conjure up. I assume that yeah, they'd probably get fucked because Dorne would join in right away against the Lannisters. I don't like them. But essentially, you know, I mean, he's stopping war by pushing the kid off the tower. There, you could justify it. Maybe get second-degree manslaughter. But I think that we're gonna wrap it up because I have to do my video and I have been rambling on here, so I'll probably watch this and be like, "Whoop, probably shouldn't do that again." But yeah, I love how cocky Robert is. Really quick about. I was just rewatching the first episode and first few episodes about when he says when the Dothraki are coming. He's like, "Let them come." He's like that is game. Ned's game to go and fight again. The one thing that somebody brought up, maybe I'll do one final thing here. I was wondering about did now they said that Ned had not seen I'm a little vague on this. And did Robert with the Greyjoy rebellion, you know, King Robert, he was not personally there, was he? Was Ned not reunited with Robert from the end of the you know, Robert's rebellion to when we pick up in the actual books in the actual series, or did he encounter him during the Greyjoy rebellion? That's been unclear to me. Because that would make it 14 years. Was it Greyjoy rebellion was 12 years before the start? Okay, Bran, both were there. Okay, so 9 years. So they hadn't seen each other in 9 years. Gotcha. Yeah, 'cause somebody told me that they hadn't seen each other since his rebellion. I'm like, I don't know. I think that the Greyjoy rebellion that they saw him, but Bran is 7, book is off. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it's a real good setup, and I think that, you know, obviously the hardest thing to do in the world is end a series. I mean, look at shows like Dexter. Um, like that's probably the worst example, but you know, I mean, it's so hard to properly end these series, and George is still stuck in a room in Essos. So you know it's not easy, and you got the brain trust over there. They're probably already playing with lightsabers. So sorry, I'm not a Dan and Dave fan. I think they're a little bit too cocky for the subpar job they've done, but maybe I should take a note from that. Yeah, but you know, I truly think that we'll see a even though it's not a popular opinion, I think we'll see a Sansa ruled kingdom to a point. And I don't think that we'll see a full out like reformation of any type of government because they won't pull away the monarchy right away. I think we'll see like more of like you just see things they'll probably just do a few scenes where you see like you'll see freaking what's his name Sam, he'll be, you know, dealing with the maesters and making them like showing them the actual like shit that went down. So they stop writing about bullshit and start acknowledging what's actually happening. And you'll see other scenes, maybe Tyrion and Sansa in what looks to be a parliamentary meeting. I think we'll get hints and probably then, you know, John and Danny's baby that we don't know if that's going to come or not. No, we're definitely going to see another generation since it is a saga. We'll see a start of something different. We'll see them start to acknowledge that, you know, there's larger things in life than some stupid Iron Throne and whatnot. And decisions need to be made with the interests of more than just the elite, you know, that there's no divine right and the nobles aren't the end all. I think that we'll see hints of that. We won't, you know, they won't be like, and then they set up a, you know, a cabinet for this, and there was a committee for, you know, the fishing rights on the Trident. I don't think that we'll have any Magna Carta go on specifically. They'll just hint to it. So that's about it for me. Let's see. Um, Is this my hope, Justin? Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think 6 episodes is a disservice. That's all I'll say. But hey, on HBO's part, you know how many people are gonna have to renew their subscriptions to that aren't people. I'm talking about the normal people that like are gonna forget what happened, that aren't constantly writing about it, or like we are. You know how many people are gonna have to like renew HBO Go subscriptions to rewatch all the episodes and all that. That's why I am considering. I know Nerd Soup's doing it right now, and I'm a huge fan of Nerd Soup. Like they're like the only people I will fucking just give like mad respect. Like I think that they're the best Thrones in not Westworld. I'm gonna conquer Westworld, but they're the best Thrones people out there. Nerd Soup is so good at what they do. They're redoing the whole series up until Hard Home because I think that's where they started. But I thought about it too because a lot of people are going to need refreshers, and it is interesting to go back now and look at this. Obviously, with what we know, you know, like I said, we didn't have the other perspectives. So I don't know. Let me know how you guys think about that. But of course, and I'm going to be doing some more stuff with Brand. Focalizershow.com. A really quick announcement. I have to renew that domain to retain it. Now, Focalizer Show is what I was talking about at the beginning of this, and why I was kind of stumbling when I was first starting. It's because I was trying to ride the fence between a podcast and a full-on YouTube channel. Focalizer was the name of a potential podcast with some other content creators that we were in the works for, and some things went awry, and I had to just get the domain, and I ended up with the domain, and I didn't end up doing the podcast. So it's been great because we've had excellent articles, mainly from Bran and Jezebel, and a few other people have put some really good. Marie's got some good stuff on there, and I like it. I don't know if I'm going to purchase another year of that domain or not. Let me know how much, maybe we could do a little bit of fun. It's $200. Okay. And yes, I could do the $200, but I have to think, I have to treat this like a business. I could spend $200 on my channel. You know what I mean? So that I could buy a new camera, or at least a better webcam, and I could get some soundproofing, with that money. So it may be, if we really want to get it going, if we can get a little bit of donations for it, maybe we'll set up on the site. If I could just get a little support towards it, I'd be more inclined to keep it. But as of right now, I mean, Bran is the main, writer on there. He's the one that posts the most, and I use it to have my videos, another backlink to my video that people can always go on there and get my videos on there as well. But obviously, Brand, you always have a platform with Amino and stuff like that, and I'll always help you out. But yeah, if we get a little bit of financial help to keep Focalizer, if people want it, then I'll keep it. But I'm not just gonna pay $200 just to maintain the rights to a .com that I essentially don't want. As far as the name goes, I don't need to own that name. But that's about it. I'd like to thank you guys all so much. Yeah, no, I rambled for way too long, Milt, as I always do. All my Patreons, thank you guys. I still got 5 spots open in the Founders Club. What that is if you join my Patreon right now and you do the $5 a month, you get what the $20 a month tier would get the highest. And the idea is when you invest in a business from the ground floor, you always, you reap the benefits. So I look at the people, especially my fantastic group of people that I have right now, I'm so happy to have them, and they invested in me before anybody else did. So the next 5 people are still going to be in that bracket. We got 5 spaces left. If you invest in me before anybody else does, then I will always remember that, and I'll always treat you, with that respect. And that means that you will always get the top tier perks. All you have to do is maintain the $5 a month. So that if it gets a lot of people in it, that could go up to $100 a month tiers and stuff. So, like right now we're just spitballing ideas, and, we're going to get some shirts pretty soon and stuff like that. But yeah, 5 more spots left in that. So it's $5 a month, and all you have to do to maintain that is just keep your $5 pledge. So yeah, if you invest in me, I'll invest in you. And like I said, I really want to get a few more people so we can start doing the private live stream, so we can really start brainstorming and stuff like that. I do treat the Patreon, especially the people that want to be involved in the development of ideas in the creative process. I really want to, I look at it as a think tank. I look at it as people that are investing, as executive producers as of the show, not just, people that are giving me money and they just get a shout out. I appreciate the financial help, but the input is very important to me as well, and I truly mean that. So thank you guys so much. Thank you everybody, and I will be listening to this podcast. Off topic, it's been great living Rhapsody. I will maybe put something together that is a little bit more coherent than what I gave you, but that's my general idea. I just want them to pay off a lot of the overarching themes of the story, essentially, and I want the characters that have been kind of dicked out of their storyline to be put back on course and pay that off in a satisfying, in a creative way. So and Felicia, thank you as always. BBM, thank you guys. So thank you again. Hopefully we'll be doing the 5,000 subscriber appreciation stream sooner than later, and then 10 from there, and go from there. Thank you guys.